Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. No mai, haere mai, and welcome all. My name is Cheryl Adamson, and I'm the General Manager of the Parnell Business Association. Welcome to another episode of Eco Bites, short and sharp topical conversations in the eco space. 8 to 10 questions, one presenter, released monthly. Our speaker today is Bridget Peach from the Samson Corporation, who have their offices in Parnell. The Samson Corporation were one of the leaders in Green Star buildings in Auckland. They were awarded the first New Zealand 5-star Green Star built ranking with Iron Bank in 2009, as well as the first New Zealand 6-star Green Star rating for the Gaza building in Parnell, the building we more commonly know as the Rise or 100 Parnell Road. Of course, when your mission is to build Green Star rated properties, you also need to set certain criteria for tenants, and I hope Bridget will go into that a little for us. So now let me hand over to Josephine Rudkin-Biggs, who's a board member of the Parnell Business Association and our sustainability champion, to formally introduce and interview Bridget Peach from the Samson Corporation, our guest speaker for today. Over to you, Joey.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Josephine toku ingoa. Welcome to today's Eco Bite. I have the pleasure of introducing Bridget to you, and then we'll have a chat. So Bridget is the Property, Sustainability and Relationship Manager for Samson Corporation, focusing on buildings which enhance neighbourhoods, improve occupant well-being, and reduce impact on the environment. Bridget brings a varied background of studies across physics, maths, marketing, sustainable business, and theatre to deliver creative and practical solutions to businesses and environmental challenges. So awesome. Welcome, Bridget. So
thank you.
So tell us a little bit more about Samson and your role in particular.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So Samson Corporation is a family-owned business that own commercial property around Auckland in the city fringe. So, of course, we've got some properties in the beautiful Parnell, including our offices here at 100 Parnell Road, and also other areas city fringe, including kind of Karangahape Road, Greyland, Ponsonby. And one thing that I think we've had someone describe Samson Corporation as that I think really helped for me to understand the thinking was that they talked about Samson Corporation thinking in generations, not decades. And that has been a real driver for the sustainable work of Samson, looking at buildings that really last for a long time, that people love to be in for that long period of time, and that are built sustainably to stack up there as well. So there was, to Cheryl's comments at the beginning, Samson were awarded some of the first Green Star buildings around New Zealand, and those were, 15 years ago now. And since then, Samson Corporation really paused and looked at their portfolio and said, hey, we have a number of buildings that might have that character element, they're older, and what can we do? How can we apply that same level of thinking to these other buildings as well, and to the people that occupy these spaces, both from a sustainability perspective and from a how people feel and tenant engagement and well-being within these spaces. So they employed a property sustainability manager about 6 years ago to really bring that thinking forward and across the spaces. And I've been in this role for 3 years. So really varied role, lots of different areas to look at, but a really fun, really challenging one.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I met your predecessor, and a member at the time, as you say, 6 years ago. It was very much before a lot of people really had started thinking about this. So it's great, and that you're creating such a legacy for those buildings. So Cheryl touched on the building user guides that you develop, which again, I'd never heard of. I think that's really awesome to try and encourage best environmental performance from those buildings. So tell us a little bit more about those.
Yeah, so when someone moves into one of our spaces, we essentially, right from the very start, set those foundations where we say to them, okay, look, if you're coming into the building, we're going to give you information, a document that essentially says this is the thought and the care that we have put into the design of the building, the management practices of the building, and this is how you can maximize them. Because I think in general, people do want to do the right thing when it comes to sustainability, but it's really about how can we make that as easy as possible for them to engage with. So it sets kind of a precedence right from the start. A business will come in, they'll nominate an environment champion. I'll go have a sit down with that person and the manager of the company moving in and kind of say, here's what we've provided for you in terms of, say it's 7 different waste streams on site that waste can be separated in. Say it's the electricity, energy efficiency initiatives that are there, the water efficiency, the end of trip facilities for people cycling in. Here's how you can maximize that.
That's great, because you've got the building, whether it's a refit or a new build, you've got the framework for the Green Star, but then a lot of companies probably then just sort of wash their hands and hand the building over, whereas you're sort of remaining some accountability in ensuring that the tenants operate it in the most efficient way. So yeah, well, that's awesome. And what kind of benefits are some of those tenants seeing from kind of adhering to those guidelines?
Yeah, so there's a couple of really cool things that have come out. One that I want to point on was like the bit that kind of maybe sometimes does get missed when people are in there. When I do have this meeting with the environment champions, I had one the other day with a large team, and one of the girls in there she was saying, oh, actually I've noticed since I've been in this naturally ventilated building and the thinking that's gone into the design, I've had way less sick days. And she said that in front of the team, and it's that employee retention piece that can come from people feeling well inside these buildings, and having those building user guides and environment champion conversations really helps to spark that. But the other things that we've had businesses really comment on is that lots of businesses are looking to if for government procurement, they'll be looking for broader outcomes, and being able to articulate their energy efficiency and sustainable thinking from the space with which they operate their business really helps them to bid on those types of contracts. For others engaging in that might be a little bit further along the journey, and they're engaging in carbon emission reporting through Toy2, when we can share the data that is already there from our collection in terms of their waste to landfill and their electricity use. That's really helpful. And any other, we remove the fossil fuels on site from the main sites, but when that was there, being able to have that data to give to them really speeds up that process as well. And same for people looking at B Corp certification. It really helps to have that information handy, easily accessible, and means that they can get on with doing what they're doing without that kind of time-consuming burden element of it.
Yeah, wow. Huge number of benefits there, whether it's the health or some of those economic benefits in terms of opening up for winning some contracts and of course saving operating costs as well. So yeah, that's great. On the theme of saving operating costs, I know that you put a whole chunk of solar panels on the Access building back in 2020. How are they operating? How's that going?
Yeah, so that was a really cool project, that one. It started when we first started looking at our carbon emissions, and we recognized that building there, obviously, really cool space, the old Nestle chocolate factory back in the day, that was refurbed in 1992, and that one, being the older building, had that existing gas boiler, so was our highest carbon emission building that we had in the portfolio. So we really looked at, okay, how can we improve that by getting rid of the old gas boiler on site? And within that, realized that not all the tenants were having that kind of optimal heating, cooling, comfort levels. So we looked at a project to look at HVAC right across the offices that were in there, and switching that off from gas and over to this efficient HVAC system, but recognized that that was also going to come with some kind of cost components when we spread that comfort levels right across. So we looked at installing solar panels, a solar panel array there as well. And that's been a really cool project, because out of that you've seen lower carbon emissions, you've seen increased comfort for tenants within the building, as well as a decrease in costs. So it kind of ticks all boxes through that.
Awesome. Great to get rid of the gas, and as you say, electrification of buildings definitely helps them decarbonize. So that's great. And so what else is on your sort of sustainability agenda for this year?
Yeah, I love that question. So we have been looking lots at kind of diving deeper into lots of these areas. So what is it that we haven't seen that we want to kind of understand a little bit further? So big bits for us are looking at the embodied carbon in buildings. So when we do a refurbishment of a building, what does it look like if we choose one material over another? And that's been a fascinating exercise to kind of uncover where we can have some really significant change by picking one material over the other, or really engaging super early with our supply chain and asking questions like, do you have an EPD, an environmental product declaration for your product? And that, starting to understand that and look at those numbers helps us to drive further down there. I guess the other place is that I'm looking to unpack a lot more is within our fit outs. So when someone moves out of a space and someone else moves in, kind of know that process creates an amount of waste to landfill, but don't have as good visibility into that because it's being done by contractors or it's being done by tenants directly. So I kind of see an opportunity for us to understand exactly what that looks like and where some opportunities for improvement are, and then to really share that, because I think that's a key part of my role, is to be able to share that information to all the businesses that are coming in and out of our spaces and industry in general. So to be able to pass that information on once we get through that. And we've been working with another Parnell business with circularity in terms of understanding that as well. So that's been really cool process.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds like you're going to get a lot of really good learnings from that you'll be able to share to the benefit of others. So yeah, well done. And in terms of sustainability, kind of what keeps you awake at night?
I think the biggest one is probably just the pace at which we need to make change. I don't know, if you look at the IPCC reports, and they're saying that we really need to have emissions peak by 2025, and coming into this year I've gone, wow, that's so soon. Our building user guides, which we put together, the most latest iteration we put together, in 2023, we put how many days we have to go, because when I saw that number in days, it really re-emphasized that it's not something we're waiting for people to catch up on, or leaving to the next generation of business leaders to be driving. It's everyone leading right now. We need to do it as quick as we can.
Yeah, it's definitely scary, the pace that we need to go, and as it's, the science is there and telling us we've got to go faster, and further. What do you think holds people back from action?
Yeah, you hear lots. Actually, Sustainable Business Network just released a report just really recently on small to medium enterprises in New Zealand, and that was really relevant for me to look at, because a lot of the businesses we engage with are those small to medium businesses, and the big key one for them was the time. And so, yeah, so I think the main one they see was time, as well as perceived costs. Mind you, perceived costs and benefits from that in terms of gaining more business and reducing operating expenses was one of the main drivers as well. So that's a kind of positive flip on the same. And so I think from a business perspective, it's that time component in a big piece, and that's where I do try assist tenants and see where I can help. But I think from maybe on a more personal level, I think people can potentially find it hard to engage with it because there's so much nuance. Like sometimes everything we do has some element of impact, and we can't, it's not necessarily going to be perfect. And I think I have learnt, or am still in the process of learning, that actually we just need to keep moving forward, to keep progressing it, rather than wait until the solution arrives that is totally perfect. So I know that's been one for me personally that I keep working through. So I can imagine it's out there for others as well.
I think definitely perfection gets in the way of progress, as you say. So no, it's a great insight. And then obviously Samson are doing amazing stuff, but in terms of other organisations, who else do you think is really leading the way in addressing sustainability that you admire, and why?
I think there's lots of businesses doing in lots of different areas. That's really really exciting. Like if I look in the property industry, there's areas that are looking really hard at their embodied carbon emissions. There's others that are looking at the operational emissions within buildings really closely. There's others that are engaging with Mātauranga Māori and a Te Ao Māori lens of design, which I think is really important as well. And I'm looking forward for all of us to broaden that scope a whole lot across different areas. I guess as well in terms of some of the kind of contractors and teams that we work with as well. There's companies that are doing really cool things. We work with APS, who talk lots about, as a property maintenance company, that talk lots about looking at reducing their footprint, but also increasing their handprint as well. There's companies like Abilities, which are a charity organisation that are looking at recycling and supporting people with disabilities. And I think there's lots of different areas where everyone is really nailing certain areas, and I can't wait for all of us to share that and have that openness about, this is the bit I do really well, this is the bit I struggle with. Do you have any insights you can give me to help support that?
That's great that you've got lots of companies in your sector in particular that you can reflect doing amazing work. So that's great. If there's one piece of advice for a business, what would that be?
I would say to love your data. I said this a couple of times, but I really, really have found it so fascinating when I've had this preconceived notion about what I think is going to make the biggest impact, and then looked into the data and found it somewhere else. And it's an easy-ish change to make, and it's has huge benefits. And so I think wherever you can, it may not be that you need a fancy software and tech solution. Like being able to ask questions and look at the data through there has been super eye-opening for us as a business, and for me personally, to understand where the biggest impact is.
Right, yeah, definitely data can speak volumes. So yeah, it's a great tip, a great place to start. So well, thank you so much. It was really insightful hearing all the great work that you're doing in pushing forward on low carbon buildings and low carbon operations. So yeah, that's fantastic. And thanks so much for your time today, Bridget.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I guess speaking to those ideas of needing to share, that's where this platform's really, really great, and all the other speakers you've had. So thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you to you all.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you.